Disclaimer. In this story, we will be discussing the sexual assault and murder of a 2-year-old baby girl. This chapter may be triggering for some listeners. This will be the only warning. Please do not listen if you are sensitive to this topic.
Well, hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Welcome back. It's been a minute or two.
Or a few weeks.
Yeah. That was definitely a fun few weeks, and we're still kind of grappling with being off and away from work and trying to catch everything up. But we're back at it, recording.
Back in action.
Mm-hmm. So about midway through our evacuation, we were contacted, and it totally floored me, but we were contacted through Facebook by one of our listeners who came across the Caliyah Guyton case, chapter 26. And the message basically said that, you know what?
You guys did good.
You guys did a good
but
job.
But there's some things that aren't correct or correct in the media that I would love to share, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then she kind of ended it with, oh yeah, I'm that girl.
We're like, let me know.
What girl? We're like, what case is it? Yeah. And I thought it was Caliyah's case, but we just weren't sure at first.
And when I read it again, I was like, wait a second, that's Cody's case. That's Cody Ledebakov. And I was like, I thought it was the woman who dropped the one victim off, but then and I went back and looked, chapter 26. That's Caliyah. That's Caliyah.
Yeah, when I ended up telling Heather that it was Caliyah after you thought that it was Cody, she was like, you were right. And I was like, man, I had a vibe.
And let me tell you, there's absolutely no way that I can describe the feeling I had. It was like excitement, but it was also terror when I realized that this woman had listened to our coverage and reached out to us and just alluding to maybe we got some stuff wrong. I was mortified that maybe we had offended her or...
And like you really were, but like coming from journalism and working for papers and stuff and, you know, the media that people hate. I get it. Yeah. I know. I'm so freaking used to it that I was like, okay, let's hear what she has to say. Yeah. And some people are going to be angry when it comes to that stuff, but at the end of the day, this is a podcast for opinion, and we're going to report what we can. And if anybody ever wants to respectfully step forward and correct some things, we would love it. Love it. We were so happy to talk to this woman on the phone. So happy.
And let me just say, I was very happy to hear from her that, she thought that we did a good job, and we are the only podcast that she reached out to because our coverage was the least biased and quote unquote, we didn't piss her off as badly as the other ones have. So anyways, we had a quite lengthy conversation over Facebook Messenger, and then we had made a plan to have a phone call. Like a phone interview with her a couple of days later, just to kind of go over some of the wrongly reported information and maybe some of the
clarify
speculation
the timeline
and stuff like that. Yeah,
and just like honestly get like a proper wide full circle view of what really happened. Yeah, timeline wise, all of it.
Somebody that was actually there. So to recap. If you haven't listened to chapter 26, it is imperative that you go and do that now before you listen to this one. But Caliyah Guyton was a 2-year-old little girl who was staying with her parents and grandparents in a hotel in Enid, Oklahoma. We'll get into that living arrangement because we were able to get some clarification on that. But basically, a complete monster who was also staying and working at that hotel abducted.
Just staying at that hotel.
Yes.
Took an opportunist.
Yeah. And
thing and
basically raped and murdered this poor little girl.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's enough information because people really should go back and listen to the volume 1, chapter 26 for that full experience and like what exactly went on.
So before we play this call for you, there's a couple of things that I need to clear up. In the episode, I called the perpetrator Jaguar, and the reason for that is I have a niece who is married to a Jaguar, spelled the same way, all that stuff, so that's how I thought it was pronounced. This guy's name is pronounced Geiger, so that is the correct pronunciation. And also during the phone call, you hear squeaky tweets and kind of noise in the background. I suspect she was sitting outside. And I've done a lot of research and watched a lot of videos about Enid and around Enid. And believe it or not, those same birds are in every single video that I've seen. And
I would also like to say that this is just a woman living her daily life. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, she had stuff to do before. She had stuff to do after the call. And the call was pretty long. So, honestly, the noises are to be expected. We will try to tweak it as much as we can.
So without further ado, let's get into this phone call that I think is just a terrific opportunity to clear up some of the mud in this horrible
dirty
story.
water. Yeah. And I would also like to say, after the phone call, we're going to discuss some of that new information a little bit more.
Yeah, to point it out to you. So
let's get into it.
Here we go.
Hello?
Hi, Summer.
Hi.
Hi, this is Shar. How are you?
I'm fine, and you today?
We're doing pretty good. So we put together just a few questions because I know you kind of told us quite a bit over Messenger there, but we thought we'd just kind of ask you a few questions and then maybe from there we'll bring out your story, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So how long have you known Cody and Chelsea? Like, what is the history there?
Well, I met Cody through a mutual friend. We all worked at the same factory.
Okay.
And Cody worked on nights and I worked on days, but I met him through just a mutual friend there.
Oh, okay. So you're friends with Cody and you know Chelsea.
I met Cody and I was friends with him like a couple months before Chelsea started coming around.
Oh, okay.
And she would really come up just like every couple weekends and stay the weekend.
Oh, okay.
And I met her. So I really, before all this happened, I'd only been around Chelsea maybe like 2 times.
Had you ever met Caliyah?
I never met Caliyah.
Oh, no. But from what you could tell, she was a, sweet little girl and her mom was all about Caliyah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so was Cody. I mean, I'd heard about Caliyah from Cody. I mean, and saw pictures all the time. So.
Right. Was there like a reason that they were living apart? I know that you'd said that Cody was living in Enid. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Yeah. And Chelsea was in Texas.
I think that they had, from my understanding, she had the baby while she was incarcerated.
Oh.
And then, so when they got out, like, I don't think they were together, like, at first. Right. And so I think that's just when they kind of reunited and got back together.
Okay, but Caliyah is Cody's biological daughter.
Absolutely.
One of the questions that I had just from the information you gave us, and we'll get into a little bit here soon, but do you know how tall Caliyah was? Because I'm thinking in my head, if it was possible, if she could have reached a hotel door. Do you know what I mean? But do you have an idea of what size she was? Was she like a typical 2-year-old, or was she closer to 3, or?
She was about to turn 3.
Okay.
Her birthday was the beginning. I believe it's either it's June 9th, I believe.
Oh, wow. She was, okay. So
she was just about to turn 3. She seemed, I mean, and the only time I laid eyes on her was ever was in the pool, and she seemed quite tall, though. I mean.
And she knew, like, she had words and stuff, like she was starting to talk, and so she was like a normal 2.5-year-old, it sounds like.
Yes. Yeah, she could talk quite a bit. I mean, Chelsea sent me quite a few videos, since then of Caliyah, and she was actually very, very smart. She talked quite a bit.
Oh. Okay. And I mean, please understand, this is, I can't imagine how hard this whole thing is for you, but for us, this is it's kind of putting a personal spin on just a story that we read. You know what I mean? So talking to you is it's almost intimidating just because I don't know how to relate or to be compassionate to what you must be going through. So just be patient with me. If I seem a little bit too forward or something, you can just tell me to back off or whatever. It's definitely not my intention to step on your toes or to offend you or anything like that as we go forward here.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that, but I'll let you know. But I mean, I'm. There's only one story I can tell, and that's just what happened. The truth, you know.
Yeah. So, no, for sure. And I mean, to be fair, you showed up after you, like you said, you saw the aftermath. You don't really know for sure what happened before. So, did the police, did they take you into the station or whatever for an interview, or were you just questioned at the hotel there? Like, I know you had said you guys were separated or whatever, but did they actually make you go down and do a formal interview?
They took me with them, to the police station.
Just like one time, or was it multiple?
One time, but they had my phone for, a week, and I had to talk to them one time, and then I have actually talked to Michael. I don't know, you guys pronounce his name a little different than I have, but I'm just going off me. I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone else, but like Michael Geiger's lawyers, and I've talked to them, and I've talked to the DA.
Oh, okay. And the DA didn't say that you couldn't talk to anybody. They didn't give you any kind of gag order or anything like that.
No, they just told me to, because sometimes when things come out, like it was all out, and then this new news came back where new facts about the case, or she got threw off from the Second Story Live, and at that point I went and I talked to the DA again, and I was like, I can't even handle that news. Like, I can't fuck with that, because I don't understand that, and she was like, just quit looking at the news. And actually I have quit, but I came across your podcast the other day and listened to it. I never realized till I actually was there, like, because I'll read stories and I'm like, oh my, that's really what happened. And then, but this one, like, I was there and I know what the fuck happened. And it's crazy because people have just, it's like they're just grabbing things out of the air and saying them, and then other people run with it. And I've had people, contact me, call me names or whatever. And I'm like, did you even read the affidavit? Like, have you read it? Have you read the affidavit, which is still not correct? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's at least it's close. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, no. And I'm like, so you're just really going off what any of these other stupid people in this town are saying. You're just one of, like, right. Come on now.
And that's a lot of what we have access to, right? Like, even the affidavit, we were able to get pictures from Twitter. Like, we couldn't download the PDF or anything. So I don't know if there were pages missing from what we were able to read or anything like that. So, and honestly, the way we read it, the part that you played in it was like so insignificant. It wasn't even like an angle to cover on the podcast, other than this was the story they gave. There was this woman they went to pick up, and it just didn't seem like there was no mention of you being there for the aftermath or anything like that. It actually left us wondering if there was actually a woman that they went to pick up,
and a lot of people have said that, like, oh, maybe that's just a scapegoat, or, you know what I mean? That maybe they were just using that, but yeah, there was me, yeah. But it's so crazy because I really wasn't the woman that was going to do whatever, you know what I mean? And we can get into that or whatever, but I just ended up still being there, and it was just a weird set of circumstances that got me there anyway, because I'm not a prostitute. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I clean houses for a living. That seems like way easier.
Right. Right. No shit.
I don't do it. I work hard, so it's like I'm not a prostitute, but
and people are just going to assume that, right? So, did Cody call you then to find somebody?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what time he called you? Like, what time of the evening?
He called me probably around, I think it was about 10 o'clock.
Okay. And then most reports said that you guys hung out for about an hour at your place or whatever before you had back?
He didn't get to my house, and I know for a fact, the exact time was 11:54.
Okay. Oh, so it took him a good hour to get there.
Right, well, yeah, because I called around to people to see if there was a girl that would go,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, because I know I'm the only person they knew in town, really, and the friend we met,
Right.
each other through, and because Cody hadn't been here very long either, so, and he was just really, I mean, the guy knew how to offer him money, and you know what I mean? They knew that he was in a rough spot because, of course, they're living in a motel.
Yeah.
I know that the reason, like they were even there was they did have an apartment in one of the apartment complexes around town, but they don't let felons live there.
Oh.
And I believe, they found out Cody had a felony, and so they had put everyone out.
Okay. I did read a little bit about Cody's prior history, I guess, but what about Chelsea? Do you know what her charges were?
I think she had some old drug charges for marijuana, maybe. I mean, I know they weren't really, bad, but she did end up, I think she was in prison, like actual prison, not just jail. I think.
Oh, wow.
I think she did have to do some time, and that's when she had Caliyah.
Oh, okay. So
and I know that makes them sound just not real good, but I love Chelsea. Like, she's such a good girl. Like, it's just crazy how it all is,
we know that Michael Geiger's daughter worked at the hotel, and that part was in the affidavit, and I must have missed that because after our conversation I went back and I read it, and it is in there, but what's not in there, like this was the same day that he moved into the hotel, and she said she left him there at 6.
I mean, he wasn't even in town 12 hours. It just floors me. Like, he wasn't even in town 12 hours before he did this.
That is unbelievable.
Isn't it crazy?
So, okay, I'm sorry, backing up. When you got to the hotel, can you kind of just go through what happened? So when you guys arrived at the hotel, the plan was just to go to Michael's room?
Right, yeah, and just hang out and, whatever. They and I'm a single girl. I've been in trouble. I've been with people that's been in prison. Like, I'm not, that doesn't just scare me,
Right.
I don't know. My siblings have been to prison. I mean, it just didn't scare me. But anyway, we had pulled up to the very back of the motel, and that's where their room was. And I think his room was, I want to say, almost directly above theirs on the second floor. Mm-hmm. Well, he had a couple rooms because he was employed there, so I guess they get I don't know exactly why he got a couple, but he had 2 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think their room was 149, and then his was 249, and then 247. Okay. So that
so it would be directly above there.
Yeah.
Well, so we get out, and that's right at the time that I really saw his real charges. What he had been acquitted for and stuff, which was like great, because the girl that was going to go, her sister and I are very good friends, and her sister called and she said, well, she's not doing it. And I was like, why? And she said, have you seen his charges? And so I started looking them up.
Oh, okay.
And I asked Cody, she's like, Cody, do you know his charges? And he said, well, he's got a kidnapping or whatever he said, but it was a drug deal gone wrong. Oh, wow. I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, but there's this rape that he's acquitted for, whatever. And then that time we were just getting out of the car.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, we were just like walking up there kind of talking about it, and we quit talking about it when we got closer to the building because, just so no one would hear us or whatever.
Right.
Or the conversation was over, it was just something I mentioned, like he got acquitted, and they were like, kind of looked at me like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
So we opened the back door, and this motel doesn't have elevators. So we went up the back stairs, and halfway up the back stairs, Cody looked back at me and he said, do you want to just go on straight up to the room, or do you want to go down to our room first? And I was like, well, the baby's asleep downstairs. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, well, let's just go on upstairs. And I mean, there was no hesitation or nothing, because I'd be thinking, all the time I'd be going over how it all went down. I mean, it consumes my thoughts most days.
I bet.
You know what I mean? And it's just, and I can't. I mean, their actions and everything, just because, I mean, the whole, it just makes you question everything.
Oh, I can't imagine, like, even me not being there, seeing how they were acting, there's so many questions. Right. And if you were there and you're trying to figure out how could this have happened, I mean, right. How could you not question everything and go back through your mind? And like, it's crazy to me to think that
it's just the worst thing possible in my mind. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, the scariest, worst thing for a child and for the parent. Like, it's hard to sometimes believe that, or even fathom how big it is and how horrible, I don't know. But anyway, so we're going up, and he said, do you want to go down, in our room first, or do you want to go upstairs? And well, we had, I did have some marijuana. We were going to smoke, and I don't smoke just on top of kids or anything. I was like, well, let's just go on upstairs. Mm-hmm. He's like, all right. So we finished up the stairs, and we knocked on the indoor. I guess it'd be 249 or whatever, mm-hmm. and knocked on it, and the door just kind of swung open. And he's like, hey, Mike. And I said, and excuse my language here, but I was like, if he wanted to pay for pussy so bad, he could have just went down to he's probably down at the strip club, because there's a strip club, like, just a couple blocks down the road.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Cody said, no, I knew he was coming back. And I said, okay, well, maybe he's at the pool swimming. And I said, I'm going to go look. And Cody was like, you can't see the pool from here. And I was like, yeah, you can. The balcony overlooks it at the end. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, I took off walking down there. And they stayed, I guess, to make, see if he was coming up or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's when I saw something in the pool. And I just didn't know. I mean, my eyes are really bad. And at the time, I didn't have my glasses on, and I was kind of just like, what is that? I couldn't make it out, and it didn't help with the shorts around the neck. That was really
traumatizing.
But it did so long. I mean, and I don't know why my brain would not comprehend. You know what I mean? What I was looking at, and I thought I saw arms, but I couldn't. I was just like, even so much to the point that I yelled down there. I was like, hey, hey, and there's nothing, no move. I mean, nothing. And it just made more sense to me that someone might have threw a doll in there, or, something like that. Like, it just didn't, I couldn't believe it, and so I finished walking the length of the floor where I got down to the end where the other set of stairs is, and where I could kind of look back, from a different angle. And that's when I really, really just knew I was looking at a kid.
Oh. And I don't think the first thought anybody would have is that you're looking at a dead child. Right. You know what I mean? No. Your brain would naturally try to find any other explanation.
Right. Yeah, it made much more sense to me. Like, my brain was trying to tell me that, hey, that's a doll or a blow-up toy, really, is what I thought it was. Yeah. It didn't seem baby. I mean, like when you asked me how to talk to her, like, it wasn't a tiny kid, you know? So that's why I was like, what, it just seemed more real to me that, someone threw like a, just as a joke or whatever in the pool. And I was like, what? Yeah. And then that's when I just realized that's a baby, and I knew immediately, and I don't know how. I mean, I had seen pictures, but like, you couldn't see her head or anything, I just knew immediately it was their baby. Mm-hmm. But I knew, but in my mind, what I thought happened, because they were on the bottom floor, is she had got out.
Yes.
And walked up to the pool and fell in the pool.
And that's exactly why I was asking about her height and maybe the door, that maybe Michael found her wandering looking for her mommy.
Chelsea has told me that she could not open the doors.
Yeah. So then after you saw her, did you turn around and go back to find Cody again, or where was Chelsea?
Towards where Cody and Chelsea were.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, I was like, come here. I got about halfway down where I could see them. And I'm like, hey, I was like, come here. And they're like, what? And I was like, I think there's a kid in the pool. And they're like, Summer, what? And I was like, And Cody I said, I think there's a baby in the pool. And Cody took off, running fast, and Chelsea was kind of a little slower, but we caught up down at the end, and Cody was already like off I don't even think his feet touched the stairs. I mean, he was already off that balcony and down and getting Caliyah out of the pool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So there were stairs from the upstairs balcony going down into the pool area?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, the report that I read that he had thrown her off the second balcony, not true?
Right.
Probably not true?
I don't know. I don't know how they know that. That's what fucks me up. Like, how do they know that? Because
sure.
I know, it might show that she was, had water before, she died. Like, I know that's how you can tell, drowned.
That she drowned.
Someone drowned. But how do they know that she was threw off the balcony?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because she was beat, you know what I'm saying? She had bruises. All kind. I don't know what all he's done to her. They offered to let me read them, and I just don't want to. I don't think. I just can't.
I don't.
But Chelsea has read it, but I don't know. I don't know how they can tell that, because there's no cameras in that motel.
Which blows my mind this day and age. Like,
right.
how can there be no cameras?
Now. Right. But like, how do you know that? Or if you're telling me that there's an eyewitness to that, how in the world could someone just go back in their room and not
say
try
something?
To help her? Right?
The one thing that I thought was, at this point, it's quite possible that Michael has talked to his lawyer, or, some way trying to get out of the death penalty or something. And that's the only thing that I thought maybe.
Guilty?
Well, they wouldn't have to change his plea just yet, right? They would have to wait till the next appearance. So, and that's not something that the public would ever know about. Having said that, where I read that is just a plain news source, right? So they probably just heard it from somebody that heard it from somebody and thought they were going to go ahead and publish it.
I think I read it in a court typed up paper.
Okay.
I think there's something on that. But when I read it, they had that little paragraph like parenthesized.
Oh, really?
And so I don't know. And that's when I went and talked to Hope Bryant, who's the DA is, and that's when I was asking her, like, please tell me that I said, can news can they report false news? That's what I was wondering. Can they say things that aren't 100% true, as a story, and say it's court documents, because this is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, just quit, just don't watch no more news. Just, just, keep your mind, like, don't. And I kind of have stopped, but, anyway, after that, because I can't.
No, you got to protect your own mental health. You got to protect your own mental health. And just the facts of what you're telling me would be enough for anybody to suffer, right? So
I have listened to things just about that, and I get enraged. I get so mad because they don't care to say, hey, some of this is fake. And some, like, they just are out with, like, oh, the parents this, and I love them. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love them, and I'm not I don't know. It just frustrates me, and to hear all the, the things being said, like
speculation and
ones that didn't just piss me off.
Yeah, and most people, I'm going to say, as long as they've got their keyboard and their computer screen, they can get really cruel with their speculation and their theorizing.
Right.
The only thing that I was ever questioning was because when Grandma got home, she said that the hotel door wasn't shut, but when she came in and she spoke to Grandpa to wake him up, the dogs started barking. So I just wonder, like, when Michael went in, because I'll totally buy that he could have got a master key and stuff. But why didn't the dogs bark? Do you know what I mean? That is very suspicious.
My thing is I kind of feel like he's smart enough to have, treats for the baby, or whatever he did, or, juice bottle, however that was. And Whitney, I feel like he'd been kind of watching them all day.
Yeah.
In a way, since he met him at the pool. Like, he immediately, I think once and I can't say for sure, I can't ever put myself in his head, and I don't want to, but, like, I would think that if he was watching them all day, like, he would know they had dogs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe he got a treat for them too. You know what I mean? Just, it's not going to take long to get her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I really don't know how he got Caliyah. I don't know. And I've thought about it 100 million times. And I know that they were charging him with burglary too. And they dropped that.
Oh, okay.
And Chelsea was extremely mad, and they're like, well, you're losing the sight of what's important. What's important is he's going to get the test, you know.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I want to know how he got my baby.
Yeah.
Like, he there has to be some kind of proof of something, like maybe he moved her blanket and his hands on, you know what I mean? She wants to know how he got her, and I understand that, you know.
Totally, 100%.
Totally do. I don't know.
That's a $1
million question. I really don't know.
The only other scenario that to me as a mother would seem plausible that I could understand would be when they got back from swimming and everybody was kind of tired. Maybe Caliyah wouldn't go to sleep. So knowing that Michael had the 2 rooms, it makes a little bit of sense that maybe they took her with them, knowing that there was that second bed in there. And if she was fast asleep and sleeping well, and they just thought they were going to pick you up quickly, then do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
I thought if that ever came out, you know, I would be like, hey, you guys made a really shitty decision,
you
know, which I'm sure if that's the case. But I also know the person who opened the door for them up at Michael's room. Like, he had some other company there. Like, there's other things that, like, he had the workers get him a stripper over there.
Oh, okay.
He had a stripper, and I guess he's been to prison here, and like, there's some people in town he knew, from what I understand, and that had went out there. And the guy who opened the door for Cody and Chelsea to come in that night is someone I've met after that or whatever. And he said they absolutely did not have their baby with them.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay, that's good to know.
And I mean, he went down. He's been interrogated by the police too. And just from rumor here, and like, I don't even want to say it really because I don't want, you know, but I heard that, like, they had found where, like, because the windows open at that motel. Oh. And, like, I heard that there was, like, disturbance under a window maybe. Okay. Or, I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true. You know, I mean.
So now, like I said, we know that Michael's daughter worked there. She didn't know him. He contacted her out of the blue and said, I need a place to live. She hooked him up with a job that day. But he has grandkids and stuff, and he was able to meet his daughter, meet his grandkids, everything that day. She got him set up with 2 hotel rooms, and she went and got him food, came back, and ended up leaving the hotel around 6 o'clock. And from my understanding, by 9-10 o'clock, the Chelsea and Cody were already kind of partying in his room. So, I mean, this guy was slick. He moved quick to kind of groom the family.
He had the other workers up there partying before that.
Oh, okay.
Like, he had already been partying with the other workers. Like, the one, I know that the maintenance man, I think, is the one who got there was a stripper there for him. I guess he, you know, I told him, I just got out, or however, you know.
So this would explain.
So they had a girl there, and that's why the guy that, I know it's crazy, his name, this guy that opened the door for Cody and Chelsea, that's why he was there. And he told me when he got there, he realized he knew that guy from prison. But he got there because Michael had made the stripper so uncomfortable that she called him to come get her.
Wow.
And so that's why he was there to begin with.
Yeah.
And
being that it was like the same day, that would explain. I know there was a lot of speculation online about how the parole system must be failing if he was able to be, you know, using drugs and drinking alcohol and all this stuff a month after he got out of doing hard time. But if it was one day, the same day, I mean, I'll never understand that, how you can do that to a child, let alone the same day you're finally kind of freed, you know what I mean? Like getting away from whatever house he wasn't allowed to do anything at. So he needed to move. The other scenario that I thought made some sense because the hotel door wasn't closed, according to Grandma, was that Caliyah, opened the door, and because they were only there kind of every once in a while to visit Dad, she wasn't familiar with the place. Maybe she tried to get out of the room to go look for her mom. And perhaps Michael, found her wandering in the hallway and just took advantage of the situation. But like I said, if I was hoping that, well, for other reasons, but I was hoping that you had met Caliyah and maybe we knew she might have been able to open that door, and because that also makes sense. Because why wouldn't Michael shut the door on his way out? You know what I mean? It's all so.
Maybe his hands were full, so you know what I mean. Like the way I understand it, their testimony, or their eye account, whatever, the maintenance workers who were partying with him earlier that day said they saw him sprinting with something that looked like a baby doll.
Like away from his room or to his room?
I don't know. Either which way, if she didn't die before she went in the pool, they could have saved her.
Yep. So, and how is, stupid question, but how is Chelsea doing now?
Well, she's just, like, it just is hard. Like, the year anniversary just came up. Yeah. And she texted me and asked me if I'd please go to the last park they went to and set off some balloons, put out some balloons, or, and just, she's horribly sad. She's not, they're doing, I think hopefully that they're going to use it as, like, to get their shit together. You know what I mean? And not, because it can either go two ways. You can either, be horribly sad and, you know what I mean? Which all of us would be, and let it, take you into a dark, deep depression where you never recover, or you can try to make things different in the world and, you know what I mean? Use it to do some good, a change or however, but
I totally get it.
I think they were both in some legal troubles during this time. Like, I know they both had some warrants, or she was hadn't seen her probation officer or something. You know what I mean? But they're all done with that. They've went through and took care of everything like that. And as far as I know, they're getting along, and because it can either tear them apart too, and there's lots of things that we don't realize, like Chelsea would tell me, Cody would try to want to, be intimate with her or whatever, and she can't even handle the thought of it, because of what happened, and it's just, it's sad. Like,
do you see or talk to them much anymore?
I do. I don't see them as much as I would, because they're not here now. They did stay with me a long time afterwards, but they didn't want to leave town. Everyone was talking about, I bet they're leaving, or whatever, but they cooperated 100% with the police, everything they needed, they gave them. And, but I see them I talk to Chelsea a couple times a week.
Oh, good.
I saw, we have a bond that, you know what I mean? It's, I saw Cody he came out of that motel as a totally different person that night. You know what I mean? And it's horrible. It's sad.
And I feel like the public is cruel. They really are. And they're judgmental. But I feel like if there was something that, a poor decision or whatever that, you've admitted you don't know either. But if there was something, just relaying a message to Chelsea that sometimes when you're transparent like that, even if you've done something, that you regret or made a poor choice, some of the public might ease up a little bit, or I don't know, they might not even be allowed to talk to anybody, but silence is the thing that fuels the speculation. You know what I mean? It just makes them look suspicious.
Whatever they did, it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
The whole town saw it as they wanted to see it, from a couple of people getting on there, and just saying what they saw. You know what I mean? In the whole town, it wouldn't matter if they did everything perfect. They still, it seems like they still were getting, people talking shit. they had a vigil for him, for the baby, and the town, there was, I don't know how many people there were, and they said she smiled, and I thought, well, it's pretty sad when you can't smile at people that, I mean, even though, and just imagine they're in shock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can't even, it hasn't even hit them what's happened,
yeah.
And there's these people out here showing their support and love for your daughter they didn't even know, and you can't even smile at someone without them thinking that you have sold your baby. Like, it's just crazy.
That GoFundMe was for Caliyah, for her burial, am I right? Is that what it was used for?
I'm sorry, what was that last thing you said to me?
Do you know if that was what that money was used for?
Oh yeah, it was absolutely for her service, you know what I mean? But when it got started, Chelsea and Cody had no clue, or the girl that started it, that the state paid for. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That is not, they didn't know that the state would pay for a funeral.
Right.
And they just paid for like the funeral, or the, the funeral part, as for like the headstone or an urn, or, you know what I mean?
I do.
They don't pay for that.
And I mean, it's the same here. It's completely separate. You have to pay for your burial or cremation and coffin or whatever separately than you would headstone and all that stuff too. So, I mean, it sounds to me like the same thing as it is here, there. So, and I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. And I mean, as nice as it would be to have $10,000 given to me by people, I would rather not have the $10,000. I would just rather have my daughter. And if there was extra money and it helped them do better, so be it. Right. But for this person to use her platform to discourage people from donating, I thought was pretty low ball, considering she's also Canadian, and it just kind of made me sick,
Right. Yeah. There was the people wanting to not even let them get food in the restaurants around here, or rent them another motel room. I mean, they put pictures of their car on Facebook, and
wow.
It wouldn't. I mean, just treated them all around like they had delivered their baby, to this man or whatever, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I believe Cody and Chelsea, and because after it happened, they came over, and I just kind of asked them everything I felt like I needed to, you know what I mean? Because I was there and I was a part of it, and whether they realized or not how traumatized I am for the rest of my life because of it, or like how much I love them, but I asked them, and I straight up looked them in my eyes. They didn't know I was going to ask questions. And I'm like, so did you do the, were you? And I asked them, were you doing meth with him? And they both said no. They said there was meth there already. There was a pile of it on the table. And I think that's what the cops found. But
that's what the cops said.
It was like the workers, in his work crew,
Mm-hmm. So was there ever any money exchanged, like even to find a prostitute for him? Did he ever give the parents any money?
No, never.
And so in those shorts, I don't know if you know this or not, but I've heard two conflicting stories. I heard that the hotel keys were in the shorts, and I've also heard that hotel keys and a stack of cash were in the shorts. Did you hear anything about that?
I thought it was like the motel keys and like $30.
$30, okay. Because that's one thing that I thought, like if he just got out of prison, how would this guy have $5,000?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, they kind of do, but I mean, some people here, because they go to like work. I can't think of what are those places called, Matt? Oh, you don't know? Okay, like work. I don't know, but you can work even when you're in prison.
Oh.
And you can work and save money, and
okay.
I mean, they take like half your checks, but then I mean, what do you really have to spend money on in prison?
Right,
so like people save money, and there are some people that come out of prison with money, but that's what I mean, that's how I felt too. Like because when they got to my house, I did ask them. I'm like, look, somebody's crazy if they're willing to pay money like that to get laid. Like, that's crazy to me. I said, is he a weirdo? And they're like, no, he's not weird. And I was like, is he ugly? And like, no, he's not real ugly, you know? And I was like, well, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Because that's weird.
It is weird when you can probably go get a prostitute for a couple hours for a couple $100 or whatever it is. I don't know, but I just, what I don't understand is they just met this guy, and I know that they had a good feeling about him, whatever, but he was a decent dude to them. But what was in it for them? Like, why did they go out of their way to go and pick somebody up or find him a prostitute? Do you know what I mean? Like, what?
Because he offered them $5,000.
Oh, okay.
And that was and they came to me with $1,000. So I mean, they thought they were going to make a good chunk.
Okay. I see.
Of money, you know.
That makes sense. Yeah.
They knew what they needed. It makes me sick. I mean, I've never really realized. I know people are called predators or whatever, but he played on every part of them. You know what I mean? It's disgusting. I don't.
And that's what they do. They are professional at finding weaknesses and people that are struggling and exploiting those struggles. Like he must have known that they needed money, or that they, you know what I mean? This is a question that I had, and she's reminding me here. Do you think that it's possible that Michael purposely sent them away in order to get her?
Absolutely. I feel that 100%.
So you think that was a plan?
There's lots of things I can say, but I mean, I don't know if you guys want to hear them or if it's speculation, but things that I know personally, because I've talked to, you know, Chelsea and Cody, like, there's no way in the time, and I get so fired up about it because it makes me so angry. It makes me just so, but like, they told me a little bit about what they did in the room. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they talked to him. He had offered Chelsea money. They're like, no, you know, and he was very persistent about it. Like, and Cody to this day will be like, well, I feel like he did it just because we wouldn't let him sleep with Chelsea. You know what I mean? Like, like he was cocky and like. Oh.
So I can't have the mom, so I'm going to take the daughter type thing? What a sick fuck.
Yeah, something like that. Like, how dare they tell me no? Or,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and that's kind of what Cody thinks? That's kind of what he's thinking?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
To be a dad.
And I was like, well, was he needy? Because I wanted to know after that, I wanted to know how he talked or how he said anything, you know, how he said things. I could just even make sense of any of it, you know, because it makes no sense to me. Like, I can't find any. Usually when things happen, you kind of like know why someone did it, or there's something that points to why someone would do it, but there's nothing. Yeah. Nothing. It's so fucked up. Like,
I think it would be really hard to make sense of that, but at the same time, being a year down the road, I think putting together, and I don't think speculation is a terrible thing as long as you're doing it respectfully, and as long as you're doing it responsibly and not using, you know, YouTube to spread your bullshit as fact. But that's how you can kind of weed out the outlandish shit that people are saying and try to zone in on what could actually possibly have happened.
Right.
And I'm personally, I hope that he makes a plea deal so he's not put to death, and then he has to give a full confession, because, I mean, let's find out. Do you know? Like, were they just, was it all his drugs that they were using? His weed?
I don't think no, I don't know about any weed. I had some myself, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know about weed or anything. I know that, all I know is that there was a pile of meth on the table. Oh, wow. But Cody and Justin said they did not do anything with him.
And I mean, I would think if the police were doing their job, they would have drug tested them or whatever, and they would have been able to clear that. And there's a good reason why they haven't been charged with anything to date. Do you know what I'm saying? If the police did their job and they looked into the stories and there's still no charges, then to me, that should be enough for the public to say, okay, well, maybe we're wrong here. Maybe we should just shut up and wait for the trial.
The police even put out a newspaper article that said, you know, the parents have been 100% cooperative. They just keep going with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's not enough for them. Like, I don't know.
Some people, it never will be. Even after the trial, there will still be people saying that the police got it wrong or the parents should be charged or whatever, you know? And like I said, if there's no evidence that the police have showing that Caliyah was taken over to Michael's room for whatever reason, babysitting or whatever, then there really would be no charges for the parents to be accountable for. So
right.
to me,
I mean, wouldn't you think that if he's say, okay, I don't know, I think about it all the time, but if he didn't do anything to cover it up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like he didn't want it to be found.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wanted it all out there. I think his ID was even in the shorts pocket.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah,
which makes me wonder,
so,
maybe
like,
you want to go back.
He didn't have no problems. I don't think. I don't even know why he ran and hid. That doesn't make sense because you left it all out there. You know, there was no. It's not like they had to try hard to find out who did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like. So I don't know.
Maybe they're in prison.
And, you know, it kind of makes Bree, she just brought up a really good point that possibly he's more comfortable in prison and he wanted to go back to prison.
He's a part of the Aryan Brotherhood.
He's part of the Aryan Brotherhood, and maybe he didn't know how to live on his own, so he had to do the worst of the worst.
I heard in prison he's one of the coolest guys in the place. He has no idea of the amount of people's lives he's, put but he wouldn't care. I mean, so why even think about it? You know what I mean? But I mean, I can't imagine what Chelsea and Cody, go through. I know Cody, I mean, just everything just fucks him up. You know what I mean? And I mean, you can see it and it's sad. And same with Chelsea, but Cody's like, I will never make a promise to anyone again. He said, I promised her that day I'd always be there for her. Like, it's just so fucked. And with me, it puts a strain on all my relationships. I have kids, and I just had a grandbaby, my first grandbaby, a little girl, and being around little girls is very hard for me.
Yeah.
And it's like I have these fucked up issues with not getting close to her because I'm just scared to now, and just fears I've never had, and some days I'm just like, fuck it, I don't care about anything, Had strains in my job and just every part of my life, every relationship I have, and
I mean, I would think it would be hard for you or Chelsea or anybody else to trust people anymore, and you're not friendly and outgoing maybe the way you used to be. You're not going to hang out with a stranger that could be a really good person, but I mean, this man has ruined that for all of you.
Oh, yeah. All of it. And people, I mean, my friends, they're like, Summer, this has really changed. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I feel it. I see it. It's not anything that's, I'm just not, I don't know if I'll ever be okay. I know I'll never get it out of my head. I know I'll never not see it when I close my eyes. That's it.
I can't imagine. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask, Bree?
Well, I mean, I just,
anything that she wants to add?
We had stuff where, like, I do want to let everyone know, because people have it so messed up. Like, they say, well, Cody went running down the halls, banging on the doors, asking, where's my child? Well, we weren't looking for her. We had already found her. We never went looking for the baby. That's, I mean, you know what I mean? When I first started looking, I went looking for the guy.
Right.
Because he wasn't in his room.
Right.
We didn't see the stuff in the bedroom. We didn't see none of the evidence or anything. You know what I mean? Thank God it wasn't that door we knocked on.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Cody, after he got Caliyah out of the pool and after he gave her, what he could as the best he could do at that moment, CPR, which they kind of thought she was alive still because I guess she gurgled or something when he started. I'm not sure. So they really didn't know, you know what I mean? Till after everything, after all the, the questioning, and after we all went to the police station. And I mean, but I knew, because I looked at her so long, but like, he never went looking for, that one, after when he started banging on the doors is after he had Caliyah out of the pool and he just lost it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just lost it. He didn't want to believe that was his kid, is how I feel like the reason he started doing it. You know what I mean? And that's what made him start banging on all the doors, like, where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? We'd already found her. But we weren't looking for her. We thought she was asleep.
Oh my God, that is so heartbreaking to see, to hear that side of it is not something that I've ever heard or quite honestly thought before. The only thing that I thought, maybe he was banging on the door looking for Caliyah, shouting at somebody else in the hallway. You know, I didn't think he was banging on his own door looking for his daughter. You know, he would have just opened the door, but
I mean, was banging on all doors. I mean, like, you know, it was just, you could hear him screaming through the whole motel.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, when the 911 call was going on, that was Chelsea.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely heartbreaking. Like,
one of the worst things I've ever heard. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
like, you can tell in that call, it is 100% authentic. They did not, no matter what led up to it, they did not expect their little girl to be,
right.
You know, that is so terrible. Is there anything else that you can think of? And just know that, like, the phones always go both ways. You can call whenever, if there's something that we missed or whatever.
Yeah, you can. No, I mean, it's just, I don't know why. And I mean, half the people I know probably will never even know, like, you know, listen, maybe not saying they wouldn't, but I'm just saying they probably don't know about your podcast yet, or, you know what I mean? And they'll probably never even hear this, but it was important to me just like to, but I don't know, just to talk about it. Like, I don't know. Well, you know what? And I'm not even thinking, right? Because, you know, a lot of people around here have just, you know, want to hear everything about it.
Yep.
I'm sure it's not just me, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are, just want, you know, so
Absolutely.
They probably have listened to it. Cause really, I just searched, her name, you know what I mean? And that's how I found it. And so,
and we have we do have a few regular listeners from Oklahoma. So, I mean, you never know. You never know. So,
and I mean, I know that it was worldwide news. You know what I mean? It's just, and I haven't talked to no one, and actually no one has to talk to me, or, you know what I mean, or anything. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm not looking forward to court. Like, I don't even know how that's going to play out. I don't know if, because I'm labeled as, you know, the prostitute, or however people, and which is fine. If the whole world wants to think I'm a prostitute, that's fine. But it's better than, I mean, what they want to put on me too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but I mean, it's going to be
going on, and, you know, just sick shit.
It's going to be your opportunity to stand up, get up on the stand and say, I'm not a prostitute, and this is exactly what happened. This is the timeline. And you're going to be able to corroborate Cody and Chelsea's story. Do you know what I mean? And it's all going to help to go towards putting this monster where he belongs. Like,
this is another thing. This is how bad that I think he is, actually, and that Chelsea feels. And this is, I mean, I can't imagine that it's just something way horrible. It's like they had been up in his room for just like, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you know, something like that. And he excused himself and said that he had to go down the hall and take care of something. Like, and I guess they had already talked about him coming, or them coming to get a girl, or however, you know.
And he had to go service himself or whatever.
Right. And I think at that time, and this is how Chelsea feels, because the timeline is it's so fucked up. Because like I told you in the beginning, they didn't get to my house till 11:54. Okay, it's probably a 15-minute drive from the motel to where I lived at the time. So they let him out of the motel covered in blood at 11:47.
Jesus.
So he went and got her and did everything he did in what, like 3 minutes?
Yeah.
5, 6 minutes?
Wow.
That makes no sense.
No.
So Chelsea says, like, when he excused himself, that's when he knew no one was down there with the, maybe they said, oh, they're asleep, or, you know, I don't know. And she feels like that's when he went in. So he had her in the room next to him, because when they knocked on the door, he was like out of a shower, or like he'd been masked, you know.
Yeah.
And if you read the affidavit, then you read that part.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
they feel like he already had her.
He already had her. And another part too was Grandma got home from work just right around the same time that right. that they were leaving. So I mean, it's just an unfortunate chain of events that, like, nothing lined up to help them.
It did, in a way, yeah.
you know, everything was kind of against them. All the things that lined up were perfect for Michael, and that's horrifying.
Right.
That's terrible.
And everybody, you know, is like, why would they have that baby in a motel? No, more importantly, why would you have him in a motel?
That's right.
Motels are for families, you know, like, and I mean, they want to put them down even on stuff like that. It's like,
yeah,
they just beat themselves up all the time and just wonder, you know, which I totally get. But.
And even just knowing that Cody was staying with his parents at that hotel and Chelsea and Caliyah would come down to visit them, answered a number of questions for me, right? It makes total sense. And I personally don't really understand why that's not more talked about on these platforms.
And, you know, Cody and Chelsea had even, they was even like, just, and that's why they never really had her when they came around, because they were trying to, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They had just got back together themselves.
Right.
You know, so they were trying to find time to do whatever you do, you know what I mean? Or you know, just spend some one-on-one time too together. Yeah. You know what I mean? Why not? The kids, the grandparents love the kids so much they can't stand it. Yeah. You know, so I mean, it all makes perfect sense to me. Every bit of it. It's just nobody around here can fathom it. I guess I don't know, but
and like I said, I think even after the trial, you're still going to have those people. But at the end of the day, your story hasn't changed, their story hasn't changed, and the big bold on it all is that they haven't been charged with anything, and so I think people just need to let it go.
And it's really sad, but it's true. But like I said to a lot of people, in 2 or 3 weeks, y'all won't even be talking about this or worried what the outcome is. Yeah, like y'all just really don't care. You know what I mean? You're just. But yet you want to sit here and say whatever. But in all honesty, y'all ain't even going to do no follow-up on it. Yeah. You know, you're going to see whatever comes out in the news, you know, or whatever. But it's not like it's important to you guys, you know. So why are you, you know, chiming in on it? Like, but anyway, really, thank you.
Okay. So give us a call if you ever need anything, or send us a message, whatever you need to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Give Chelsea and Cody my best, okay?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
So, I mean, the personal perspective of someone who was actually there and witnessed the aftermath of this was, I don't want to say it was disturbing for me. I can't imagine what they're living with in their own minds right now, but it was kind of jarring for me to talk to somebody who'd been a part of that kind of trauma.
You found a 2-year-old in a pool.
Yeah.
You know,
and like, what she must have saw with the shorts around her neck, and just horrific. And I cannot imagine or state strongly enough how much my heart goes out to them. The main things that I want to say about her, she, to me, came across as, genuine and believable, honestly.
Reputable.
Yeah.
Reputable.
Yeah. It was very important for her, which will come out at trial, that everybody knows that she's not a prostitute. That was not anything that she was up for. But, and quite honestly, I think we both found her accent delightful.
Very. I mean, for people in Canada who are like, plain boring.
Yeah. We're not about that cool stuff.
I was like, do you hear the slight twinge of the accent? Cool.
Yeah. So all in all, I think it was a good experience. And like I said, it helped put a personal perspective on these cases that we cover. Some of the main takeaways from that call, though, honestly, podcasts and true crime, we know it's very rare to get all of the information from an investigation until after the trial, especially with these ongoing cases. Obviously, law enforcement keep a lot of information out of the public. We'd like to just specify again that this woman has never been told by the DA not to talk publicly about what she knows. She knows she's going to be testifying, but basically everything that she said should be common knowledge, and I think it would help to clear the air. You know, if enough people hear this podcast, some of the misconceptions I think will be cleared up, or some of the speculations could kind of level out a little bit.
Well, it's just like a horrible game of telephone, you know? The first news outlet might like report it and then add just slightly something a little wrong or tweaked, and then it just goes down the telephone line, and eventually you just have muddy water.
Yeah. One of the big things for me was to find out that Michael Geiger's daughter worked at that hotel, picked him up that same day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just found him and picked him up that same day and set him up like less than 12 hours.
You know what? That's sad for her too, though. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine like finally being like, I found my dad, and just jumping on it so quickly because she's like, oh my God, okay, yeah.
I gotta help him.
I get to have a relationship with my dad. And then he does that?
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? Mm-hmm. Jesus.
And then finding out that other hotel workers were in Geiger's room partying with him, got him a stripper and all this other stuff. And then that they let him out of the hotel covered in blood later that night. Like, what did they actually see? You know what I mean? Like,
I'd love to interview somebody who worked at the hotel at that time.
Yeah, for sure. That would be something. Also huge for me was the living arrangement. So we found out through Messenger, and I think we kind of hit on it in the call, that Chelsea and Caliyah actually lived in Texas, and they would only come down once every couple of weeks or so and spend the weekend with Cody, who was living with his parents at this hotel. So it wasn't that they were living there, they were just there to visit. That was huge for me to figure that out. I think we all knew that both Chelsea and Cody had felony charges on their previous records. So it didn't surprise me that they were evicted due to Cody having a felony, and that's what led them to be in a hotel. It was probably a short-term thing, but that was huge for me to find out that, no, Chelsea and Caliyah weren't living at the hotel. They were there visiting Caliyah's dad and Caliyah's grandparents. Another one was this perspective of, so if this podcast is the only one that you've listened to, we didn't spend a whole lot of time going over this piece of information, but other content creators made kind of a huge deal of it, and there's a lot of speculation around it, is that after they had gone back and found Michael not in his room, why was Cody going around banging on hotel room doors looking for his daughter when he was supposedly looking for Michael? That did raise some speculations even with me. I was like, well, why would he be doing that? That didn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. But her perspective is that Cody had already pulled Caliyah out of the pool, taken the shorts off of her neck, and started doing CPR before it seemed like, she said, he snapped, and he just wouldn't believe that that was his daughter. And he went looking for her. He went looking for his real daughter, because there's no way this little girl could be his daughter. Like, almost like he disassociated. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't say I've never been in that situation, but I mean, that to me clears up some really, really muddy water that was in my mind. Like, why would he do that? Well,
and maybe it doesn't even clear it up fully, but it opens the doors to think about the other possibilities of what can happen mentally after discovering such a horrific, traumatizing thing. The body, the mind can do crazy things, and we can forget that sometimes because we're just looking for, the explanation that makes the most sense to our brains. But sometimes explanations don't make sense to the brain because the brain breaks.
That's
you
right.
know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Especially something like that. Like,
yeah.
Next one, and I mean, it's huge, and the caller even admits, like, we have no idea how he actually got Caliyah. We got a little bit of insight into how Cody and Chelsea think that he may have got her, like maybe even before they left to go get her. Because even in the affidavit, it says that they banged on that door and he come to the door and he was naked, as if he was just masturbating or just got out of the shower or something and wouldn't let them in the room.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece of information. And important to note that there was no money exchanged. the idea was, if you missed it in the call, was that Cody and Chelsea were going to get $5,000 to provide Michael with somebody for that night. And Cody had offered this woman $1,000 to help them find somebody. But no money was ever exchanged.
And I mean, like, the other possibility to that is that there was money exchanged and these people are so quick to flip over money and hide it or something, which is so, like, not believable. Mm-hmm. But that's the point that we're making. It's like, it's either this or that. Which one seriously sounds more reasonable? Mm-hmm. Obviously, if they had that much cash, the police would have seen some of it.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a level of indifference on this monster's behalf, because he used his own shorts. It was his hotel room with all the evidence in it. He had his ID, some money, and his room keys in the shorts that were used to murder this little girl.
So he wasn't trying to hide it, but, like,
right.
My thing is, I think that he was accustomed to living in prison. He probably didn't want to do the whole, like, work at the hotel and get to know his daughter thing. And he probably didn't mind going back to prison. But the part that gets a little bit muddy and confusing for me is, why isn't he just admitting it then? Yeah. Does he have other plans? Does he want maybe the death penalty? Like, I don't know.
But he still hasn't made a plea to... I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. But at the end of the day, the only thing he did to conceal his crime was to run away afterwards and hide out nearby on the top of the building. Another thing that really hit the caller was when reports came out that Caliyah was thrown from the second balcony into the pool. The reason why that bothered her so much was because, like, how would anybody know that unless there was a witness? So did one of the hotel workers, it was reported that one of the hotel workers saw Geiger running away with something that looked like a baby doll. So did they see him toss the baby doll into the pool from the second story? Like, she's really struggling with how somebody would know that if there's not an eyewitness.
The only other thing that I can think of is sometimes investigators have to narrow it down. So if they're interviewing all these workers and stuff, and they're saying, no, I didn't see that, and I didn't see anything, and I didn't hear anything, the only other way that they could make it make sense is, okay, well, he could have tossed the body over the ledge. Yeah. And gone unnoticed. Mm-hmm. So again,
there are no cameras in this hotel, which is mind-blowing, even for 2 years ago. Like, what?
Yeah.
So I'll point out the obvious right now. There's more speculation out there that people were wondering if there even was a woman that they left to go pick up. Like, did they just sell their daughter to this monster and then go waste time? There is, in fact, a woman that they left to go pick up. And that's who you just listen to. So
I think it really just comes down to us, like, trying to figure out how Caliyah got into his, I don't want to say care. How did he get Caliyah? So it's like, and we discussed that a bit. We went through kind of what we think are the only options. Mm-hmm. Could she reach the door? Did she go looking for her mom? Mm-hmm. And then he, seen her in the hallway and took that opportunity. Mm-hmm. We don't personally think that he could have snuck into the room without the dogs barking. I'd say, well, that's my opinion anyway.
I mean, I agree, but she makes a good point. Maybe he knew that they had dogs and he brought a treat, and maybe Grandpa did hear the dogs bark but just rolled over, told him to shut up and rolled over. But then why wouldn't he have closed the door on his way out?
Yeah, but I agree to a certain extent, but, like, they're barking at their own owner coming home, but they won't bark at an intruder.
I guess
because he has a treat. I personally don't think that is a thing, but I don't know.
I read, though, that the dog barked when the grandma went to wake Grandpa up, not when she walked into the room. So, I mean, I don't know. We don't know.
Curtains.
Keep it moving.
Windshield.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you so much for Summer for reaching out to us, and anybody else that listens to any of our coverage on any case. If we get something wrong and you want to clarify it for us or reach out, we are all ears. And if anybody in this case wants to talk to us, we are all ears.
As long as they're being respectful, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I said it 100 times in the call. I don't know if we're going to edit it out, but the last thing my intention is to offend or step on anybody's toes.
No, and I think that when you step into this world of true crime, it's all about having an open mind and playing the devil's advocate and seeing things from all sides and every possibility, even if it sounds whack.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And as it is now, I am reserving my judgment for the parents until after the trial.
Yeah.
Geiger right now definitely is the only monster. Mm-hmm. People make mistakes every day. And
I will say that talking to Summer definitely opened that part of my mind where now I'm like, okay, you know what? There's so many freaking unknowns. I'm waiting for the trial. I'm waiting for the end of this and all the statements and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm done theorizing. For the most part, anyway.
Perfect. And so this one deserves a bookmark. Obviously, we've got trial in May of 2024. Of course, if anything else comes up, we will bring it to you here
on True Crime Story Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, thank you guys for tuning in to our Volume 2 premiere.
Yes, and thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah, stick with us. Keep sticking with us. You were worried that our downloads, people were going to forget about us kind of thing. We're not that still bad. Doing great.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was really stressed out. But
thank you to people who keep sharing the podcast and, mm-hmm. word of mouth. We appreciate it so much. Even if you don't always agree with what we're saying, we're fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. We don't get nearly enough feedback on Facebook for me to believe that we're pissing anybody off or getting anything wrong. So
I mean, there's got to be times, but yeah.
There has to be, but I mean, if they cared enough, they'd be commenting and starting a discussion. So I'm just saying, we're all ears. We're into it. We're down.
Okay. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends. If you don't mind giving us a 5-star rating, it will help our show grow. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube at True Crime Story Podcast, where the discussion can continue. If you wish to contact us, you may do so via email at truecrimestorypod@gmail.com. I'm Brie.
And I'm Char.
And we'll see you on the next chapter. Bye!